Okay, so I want to go over some steps that I take for doing readings. The first step is really just to create some sacred space for yourself. And what that means is that you want to get comfortable, get centered, and go inward. So whatever it takes to help you to do that. Some people like to play music. Some people might light a candle. One of the things that I will often do is bring in my singing bowl. And I will just tone it, just even just hitting it once will really help me relax. You want to take some deep breaths and just kind of get yourself really centered and comfortable. You're going to be going inward, so you want to find whatever your way to do that is. Sometimes it's nice to create a ritual, which means just doing kind of the same thing over and over again every time that you prepare for your readings. You also want to begin with a question, and sometimes people say, well, I don't really have a question. I always say there's always a question there, even if you don't know it. So even something as simple as what do I need to know right now is a good question to ask. And then I like to have my journal with me for the readings. I like to record readings in some way, and particularly when you're learning a new deck or a new system. And this is just a regular composition journal. You don't have to use anything fancy, but I do recommend that you write down your question before you start the reading. You'll be amazed how many times you will forget the wording of your question, even just after your reading. So I like to write it down so I remember exactly how I worded it. You also want to think about, when you ask your questions, whether you are emotionally invested in only one answer. What that means, if you can only accept one answer, then you're not ready to do the reading. Just put it off for another day when you're kind of in more of an emotionally balanced place. Once you have your question and you've written it down, next you want to shuffle your intent into your cards. And what that means is that you actually want to shuffle your question. Like, I actually start thinking about my question as I'm shuffling. So I might just repeat that question over and over again. How you shuffle is completely up to you. You can do like a rifle shuffle, which is a traditional, card playing poker shuffle. What a lot of readers do is just kind of pull cards, and you can just pull them. I'm just using my thumb, just kind of pulling down. Sometimes I'm actually pulling two cards, one from the front and the back at the same time, but you're just mixing them up as best as you can. Sometimes you'll have one that'll jump out like that, or it'll kind of fly out or fall out of the deck. We call those jumpers, and I use them in different ways. Sometimes if I'm getting a lot of cards falling out, that means it is just time for me to stop shuffling. If just one falls out, sometimes it's giving you a message. It's almost like it's answering the question right up front, or it's giving you information that you might need for your reading. Some people will just put those cards right back in. Some people will leave them out into the side, and again, consider it after they've done the whole reading. For now, I'm just going to put it back in and keep mixing up the cards. Oops. So once you feel like you've mixed up the cards enough, for me, what I usually feel is that the cards will start to feel like they're getting stuck. Like it's actually, I feel like it's like really hard to pull them after a while. And you'll find whatever works for you in terms of where your stopping point comes. Some people just say they have a feeling of when to stop. Like I said, for me, I kind of wait for that feeling to happen, with the cards. Like I said, they feel thicker or heavier. You also want to consider, as you're shuffling or before you start shuffling, how you want to select your cards. For example, do you want to put the deck down and cut the deck? Okay, and I usually cut and then take the card that's on the top. Some people actually do a cut, and they may, take the card on the bottom or something like that. So really think about how you want to choose your cards. Another way that you can choose cards is just to, not even do a real shuffle. You can just fan out your cards and just select one. Okay, a lot of readers do that. And there's another way I'm going to show you. I call it a washing technique. And this is when I'm going to show you with just a fewer cards, but you would use all of the cards. I just don't have the space to do it right now. And you wash them or mix them up together. Now with this way, you're going to get reversals. So if you don't want reversals, this is probably not an ideal way for you to mix up your cards. So I'm just kind of turning them back upright for me, because I don't really use reversals with this deck. But if you use reversals, the washing method is really great for getting reversals. Another thing that you want to consider before you start shuffling or pulling cards is whether you are using them in a spread. And so a spread is really taking different concepts and giving them a position in terms of the reading. So for example, and let me just show you this deck. This is the deck of 1000 spreads. It's a really great deck for doing readings if you have trouble making up spreads or you want more ideas for spreads. They're just cards with different concepts, qualities, things that you can use to mix and match and make up your own spread. So for this one, I've made up a spread that includes 3 cards. So there's three spread positions, or 3 card positions. The first position is what to leave in the past. The second one is unconscious desires. And then the third one is advice. So when you lay out your card, you know exactly how to interpret that card because it's based on this position. So whatever card shows up here, we know that card is representing what to leave in the past. Whatever shows up here, that card is representing unconscious desires. And then the final card is giving it advice or guidance. So I'm just going to do just a random kind of cut and then lay out 3 cards. What to leave in the past, unconscious desires, and then advice. Make sure you can see all of those. Okay, and then what I do, I get my journal out again, because what I like to do is write down my immediate impressions of the reading. So I write it down really immediately, and I just do kind of just a random thoughts, just whatever comes up in terms of the cards and what I think that they mean in relationship to the spread. And of course you don't have to have a spread, you can just pull cards in relationship to your specific question. So what to leave in the past, this is holy shit. And so for me, this card it's really an exclamation. It's like something really crazy has happened, or it could be something really great, but it's really something that's kind of out of the ordinary, not necessarily in a great way. It's something that really throws you off guard and is very unexpected. So maybe leaving behind experiences that are just really catching me off guard, or that are really unexpected, and things that are unplanned and perhaps unwanted experiences as well. With the second card, I'm looking at unconscious desires. This is my persona card, and this is the one that relates to the face that I show to the world. So it really has to do with appearances and how I'm seen. So it might deal with an unconscious desire to be seen in a better light. to make sure that my face that I show to the world looks as perfect as possible. So that could be an unconscious desire. It's not something I realize is coming up. It's not something I realize is there. And advice is fruit bowl. And the fruit bowl, for me, just means abundance. It means just like really good things. Like, it's kind of like saying, count your blessings. There's lots of good stuff in life, and it's just here to enjoy it. So it's the advice for a fruit bowl to me would just be, count your blessings. You're living an abundant life. Be happy. Kind of a don't worry, be happy type of advice. Everything's good. Everything tastes good. That's probably how I would look at that. So it's really, to summarize, it's kind of like, don't worry about anything. Don't worry about any problems, any of these unexpected shenanigans that might come up. Don't worry about how you appear to others or what face you have to show to the world. It's all good. Everything is really working in your favor, and you're blessed at this moment. So that might be how I read that, and you can always come back to your reading later. Sometimes I would say if you sleep on it, and that the next morning you'll have some new insights and perhaps some new clarity as well. So, like I said, it's always good to write down your reading. Sometimes you might also want to take a picture of it too. Sometimes the visual will help you to draw some meaning from the cards as well. So once you're finished with your reading and you've recorded it in some type of way, I always like to consider, what have I learned from the reading? What message or final message, what's the bottom line of the meaning of the reading? And I think, there should always be something positive that you can get from every reading, no matter what cards actually show up. So I hope that's giving you just a sense of how to prepare for a reading and how to actually conduct one. Just remember to, find your quiet, comfortable space, find your center, do whatever it takes for you to go inward, and you don't have to rely on what other people are doing. Just find whatever method works for you, and just use your own impressions. Use your first impressions when it comes to reading your cards.